Welcome back to live coverage of Rainbow Six Siege here, the Brazil division, well and truly underway. We've got one more match to bring you, and my goodness me, it is a showstopper. We've got Team Liquid, who lost yesterday and will be they'll be hungry for a win today. FURIA, on the other hand, all the wind in their sails. So this one's going to be a very good one. We do have something prepared for you to get to meet our players a little better here. So let's get underway and meet the players and the teams from Team Liquid and from FURIA here and now.
There are players that are afraid of Team Liquid, there are players that are very afraid of Team Liquid, and then there's Fantasy.
Contra a Liquid a gente sempre perde, contra eles eu não tenho nem mais esperança.
It's true that from the history of conflicts, all this fear makes sense. Liquid and FURIA have faced off 4 times, and in each and every match, FURIA were on the losing end. Even in the first stage, with Silence playing in PSK's place, Liquid took down FURIA easily 7-2 on Coast, with many painful memories for FURIA, as they were dismantled by Sexy Cake.
Primeiro turno contra a FURIA, 7-2 no Litoral, a gente jogou com Silence. Foi um jogo tecnicamente tranquilo, a gente teve um pique que eles não esperavam provavelmente, porque a gente estava com Silence, então picar Litoral para eles podia ser loucura ou alguma coisa do tipo, mas acabou dando certo, veio como a gente planejou, foi um jogo tranquilo, por assim dizer. Famoso Dogmal, né? Dogmal, tem que ficar de olho no Dogmal, mas aí a gente bane Ashe, né, Dogmal? Espero que você esteja treinando de outra coisa.
Ah, Nesk e Palu, né, pô? Os dois roubou.
But even if there is all this fear from Fury, it appears that Fantasy may have discovered the secret to defeat Liquid.
Pô, pra gente ganhar da Liquid, eu acho que a gente tem que, sei lá, mano, treinar muito treino pra ganhar deles. Muito difícil ganhar deles, não tem como. Os caras é bom mesmo. Não sei como falar, mano. Os caras é bom, velho. Tem Nesk e Palu ali que carrega os caras. Não vou falar isso, né, mano?
FURIA must win here if they want to continue on in their battle for the top 6. Will the game go in their favour? Or like the last 4, will FURIA find themselves in crushing defeat at the hands of Team Liquid? FURIA's campaign for revenge starts now, as FURIA take on Team Liquid.
A very forthcoming assessment of how this game might go there from Team FURIA. Ollie, talk us through the map bans here, mate, and what we might expect through the map veto process here as Liquid and FURIA get seeded and ready to go.
Well, last time we saw these two play, it was Coastline. As we heard there from Sexy Cake, it was a game where Silence, the coach, was actually stepping on in for PSK. We saw these two teams play Coastline yesterday, and so far Coastline is still available inside of this veto. So maybe things aren't coming in 3s, they're coming in 4s, because we are going to be going there. It's going to be FURIA to make that decision as well, removing Oregon. Liquid, a team that are very good on Oregon. Well, throwing this over to Coastline, I don't expect it to go as smoothly as it did previously for Liquid. FURIA have developed a hell of a lot since stage 1.
It is. We are going to be able to head jump straight back into the game here. The players are ready a little earlier than we expected, so we're not going to waste any more time. We can jump straight into the game. Back down to Coastline, get your flippers on, get your goggles on. We're off to Ibiza. Take it away, Gio and Ollie.
Thank you very much, Riley. We are seriously speedrunning these games today. The guys in Brazil are not looking to hang around. Already into our 4th game. Coastline again for these two, Gio. I know that this was a pretty comfortable win previously for Liquid. Obviously, Liquid are a very good team on Coastline, but the confidence has been dented somewhat since their loss yesterday. It was the first time they'd lost Coastline since beating FURIA on it way back inside of stage 1, and they played it a couple of times at Invitational. So this is a map that Liquid are known to be very good on. But we didn't see Liquid at their best yesterday. There was a bit of a lackluster performance, particularly from the likes of Nesk, who we usually look to for a lot of kills. And it's not the entire reason why Liquid lost. They were beaten by a better side. But there was that there were those cracks that started to show. This could really be Liquid looking to maybe give themselves that bit of a confidence boost by going back to the same map and trying to get a different result.
I'm just saying, I had a deal with our producer that I would take the Coastline day off, and I would never have to cast Coastline. And apparently, I'm here today having to cast Coastline. Disgusting.
Well, I think we're just making up for yesterday. I think their teams probably felt like you were a little bit left out.
They just wanted to ensure that I got some Coastline.
They wanted to, I mean, this is the week. This was the Coastline week. I don't think we're going to see it again for the rest of the stage.
It does work that way all the time in Brazil, where there'll be a weekend where everyone wants to play the same map. First it was Oregon, then we have Villa at the start of this stage.
Yeah, that's true.
Now we've moved on to Coastline. So, yeah, whatever, I guess. But it is definitely poignant because of how both these teams did on this map yesterday. Team Liquid do have something to prove, I feel, and especially against this kind of, I suppose, younger team who are really rising up through the ranks of FURIA. You know that they're still a viable threat. So, it's going to be kitchen. I don't know if you caught that, but they've actually opened up the wall at the other end of theater. So, at the top of White Stairs, there is a giant rotate hole. And they've placed their clash in there as well. So, an interesting way to defend kitchen. I mean, there are a lot of teams who, on the attack, of course, will try and take the vertical control above the site. You want control of VIP, you want control of Hall of Fame, you want control of Penthouse. Having this defensive setup the way that FURIA have set it up could be pretty hefty. Could have a lot of heft, Ollie.
It really could. It's again, it's part of that high risk, high reward gameplay that we sometimes see. That if you are able to get in there and take control as Liquid, a lot of the steps that you're looking to do have already been done, but can make getting in a little bit more tricky. Fancy is going to be taken out first pick here as Moringa sees some success from the DJ booth. Liquid looking for this DJ booth side clear, regardless of the setup, I guess, that's gone in to the top of White Stairs. Liquid just looking to continue to play their game here. Gathering that information onto the site as well. Something that was very apparent yesterday, Gio, in the game that Liquid played, was that they weren't really able to get the plant down at all. And it's kind of poignant that I bring it up right there and then, because the plant is going to be attempted right about now.
Moringa.
Sexy Cake does just about get it down. Moringa is downed in the process. But this is a post plant. And now it's something that FURIA have to try and retake onto. PSK going to be able to cut off rotations there on that doorway. Miracle already trying to get that diffuse off. A double nade kill for Palu. That is something that you love to see. He's going to chunk himself down, but it isn't really going to matter. PSK going to find that final kill. There was not a lot left for Flash to do but drop the shield and try to make something happen. That's more like it, Liquid. That is the Liquid that we know.
It was just a really nice response from Liquid. They knew that they wouldn't be able to take control of the upstairs. That's where all the defense was set up. So they went in for the service plant. Now, FURIA probably were aware that that was likely to happen and, you know, had their denial ready to deal with it. And it did make me laugh a bit that it was Moringa the first to go down, even though Sexy Cake was the intended target, but eventually Sexy Cake was taken down. But Team Liquid, because of the Nomad ban that FURIA brought out, they decided to bring a gridlock, ensure that no one can come around from behind and flank you outside while you try to hold a post plant from outside of the service door. And of course, Palu's nade, fantastic. Like, that was it. You just delete the entire post plant situation for the defenders. There was no ADS or Wamai disc that was really present to prevent that from happening. So the defenders were actually extremely exposed without any way of punishing the attackers who were outside. So Team Liquid kind of used the situation that FURIA had set up directly against them.
It's a move that Liquid tried a couple of times yesterday against Santos, and they really did struggle to get it down, so I'm sure that that's going to give them a bit of a confidence boost. And been able to successfully get the plant off, hold it in the post. And often you see Liquid, they will lose the odd game in a stage that you really don't expect them to, but they're never a team that are down for too long. One of the reasons why they maintain a position in the upper part of the standings. And this could really be them looking to send a little bit of a message and just really reinforce that yesterday it was a blip. Could be on the shoulders of FURIA where a lot of that aggression gets shown, but early days, still only round number 1. A lot left for both of these sides to show us. Liquid are moving with that certain edge, that little bit of danger in their eyes. Trying to find some picks here through into billiards. Neski's going to be holding the angle that he's created for himself. Still, Liquid, they're not looking to overcommit here to the actual building. That's one of the advantages and often a big talking point of Coastline as a map, is that you don't actually need to really commit too heavily into the building often to find yourself some of those opening picks. We are going to eventually see Moringa edge his way into office. Really, there's a great deal that he's going to be able to find.
It's got some suspicion that there is someone here in security. The fact that he's not being droned in, so he's got to do this face checking. He narrowly sees the head that is going to back out. They're just going to cut off that flank so that whoever it is, I think it's Fantasy who's through there, isn't actually going to be able to chase Moringa up or anyway have a rotation through office should he decide to push forward.
Kind of strange to see the face checking as well when they've got so many drones available. They've only lost 1 drone so far. There's 9 drones up and about, and there's a minute left. That is a lot of information that you're able to gather. Rare going to be holding the vertical angle and just not going to be able to see Sexy Kate, but Sexy Kate can see him. Toxic Babe canisters now denying Sexy Kate from pushing on in and getting that plant down. This is where the drones come in. They can now use that information to try and gather what a wallbang that Palu is going to find through the barricade. A lot of pressure now on the shoulders of Fantasy. He could win the round from here, but no, Nesk is still going to be holding the roof. Nesk hasn't committed at all. He's still going to be holding that angle and could find the final 2 here. Could have been any number of the players on side of Liquid. The plant was going down. It's a flawless round here, round number 2.
So it's looking pretty good so far. I mean, a bit different to yesterday.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, Team Liquid are looking really rather clean. I like it. I like this idea of bringing along the gridlock as well. You know, I guess if Nomad's been banned out, this is arguably your next best opportunity for flank control. And one that we see underutilized quite a bit. I remember gridlock used to be popular, I mean, when she was first available. Back on Cafe Dostoevsky was really the map that you would most likely see her, and you'd always get the track stingers be laid down on the red stairs. But she kind of fell out of favor because there's just so many other operators that are preferable to bring, and in a lot of cases, with Nomad being arguably the best flank control, but there being so many operators, in a lot of cases, Nomad doesn't actually get prioritized as a ban, so she still makes it through, and there's no real reason to bring a gridlock instead. But they're controlling so much space with the track stingers so far, even though they use them in different ways in round 1 compared to round 2. Round 2 was internal, round 1 was external, but either way, cutting off those really important avenues of rotation that FURIA would otherwise like to use. When you consider the geometry of this map, it actually puts you in quite a hard position because it's not like you can just walk around them. These rooms are small. It's a donut-shaped map, so you either have to cross through courtyard or you have to go the long way around if you want to avoid them. It really denies quite a lot to the defenders, especially if they're out on their own.
Especially when you throw that into the mixture of the coordination that Liquid are able to pull off. It does create quite a dangerous combination. And the pressure really is on FURIA at the moment. Now, they are on the defense, and this is Coastline, so you are expected to a degree to win out a couple of these attacking rounds. But so far, FURIA are struggling to find a site which they have been or can be successful in. Moved over to Hookah and billiards now. Could be an opportunity for them to get something on the board, but the way that Liquid have been moving this far, you just know that there's a little bit of a set piece on its way and a plant that is going to be set up and attempted. Already a lot of information can be gathered here by PSKs. He's going to be able to call out for Palu. Able to get in and actually going to open up the wall there. It's quite a bold approach. Palu moving with some confidence. But
Oh my god!
For it. A triple C4 kill. We do see a frag come in below as well, as Lender is going to be inside a blue bar, causing havoc. Moringa, now the last player alive. He knows where the diffuser is, but everybody else knows where he is too. Fantasy, he's going to pop up from behind the bar and collect that final kill. What a C4 from Lender.
That was insane. And then he actually followed it up directly with a frag on top of that too. So a 4K for Lender. I mean, what else is there to say? That was brutal. And it's funny as well.
More in the vertical though.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I was going to say is, you know, with Hookah, I feel like it's very rare that you see teams get so outright caught out with certain types of defenses. It's such a long-standing primary site, and Team Liquid didn't have anything to try and go against that. It's almost like they hadn't considered it.
It was really strange because the writing was on the wall for it. There was a... I'm thinking back now, and I've got the mental picture. We're probably going to get a replay up as well, but there was a Maestro camera directly on the Hookah wall that faces billiards that's reinforced. So there's live information available. There wasn't a lot of pressure being applied to all of the defenders, so someone's going to be able to call out for Lender. He's playing in the hot seat. He's got the C4 and he's trying to deny this plant. He knows that Liquid are going to go for a plant because they're a plant-centric team. Like, it must have just been a wild scream, like, now. Like, do it now sort of thing, and you're going to see yourself some success. And the way that Palu moved through, I commented at the time that it was bold of him just to, you know, use the sledgehammer to blast open the wall when there was still the laser gate there. There was still a lot of work that needed done. Liquid skipped pretty much every step in the checklist there and just sort of went straight for let's flood site.
Yeah, I think that's probably the plan for this one. Look what they brought. I think let's flood site might be the idea for this round 2.
I mean, it's looking pretty dangerous, isn't it?
Like, Blitz and Glass. They're just gonna run straight in, dude.
Oh, this could be horrendous. We're actually going to see a reverse shield plant there. PSK going to pick off Lender. Sexy Kate going to nail that diffuser down, and he isn't really going to see too much in the form of a challenge. Nesk on the upside down repel finds 2. Can we get a time check on that? That's probably the quickest round we've ever seen.
A very fast round.
Speed run any percent.
You know, usually if I'm writing notes on the game, like I do it when I'm not talking and I get a moment, I had to like wait until after that. So I was just a bit silent because I'm just writing. I haven't even written Blitz and Glaz. I wrote Blaz and Glaz. Blaz does not play in this region, so it wasn't Blaz and Glaz. That was a great round from Team Liquid. Did not last very long, and they didn't even really need to fully rush. Like, they lobbed in an EMP and just kind of perched themselves in the doorway. They had everything that they needed to do a full rush, though. I guess FURIA weren't expecting that. And to be perfectly honest with you, FURIA, neither was I. So don't feel bad about it.
It just goes to show the true capability of a team like Liquid when they're able to pull that off in such a short amount of time. And FURIA just get caught flat-footed, and honestly, that could have been against any team. They would struggle against that sort of aggression and pressure. Like, realistically, what are you able to do against that? Sure, you could get a nice nitro sell in, but you've got to try and navigate your way past PSK, past Palu, past Nesk on the upside down repel. Like, there's just so much riding on those players that are defenders that are trying to get into a position to try and deny the plant, and the planter is being covered by some of the most talented players of the game. It's never going to be an easy prospect, and Liquid, for that round, honestly, they just looked like they were playing at it.
Well, FURIA are back to the same site, and I think it makes a lot of sense that the likelihood of Team Liquid repeating something like that is very low. So it's almost like a write-off for FURIA. They're like, all right, You got me. Now let's get back to the actual game, which I think is fair enough. It's not really a decision that I'm going to criticize that much. Interesting here, they've decided to just bring a Wamai instead of the Jaeger, because one of the problems that they faced back on the first round was being punished by Palu's nade. Obviously the Wamai can deal with that, but A, if Fantasy goes down early, then you have nothing to prevent projectiles. And B, I almost feel like you probably would have just been better doubling them up.
Quite possible. It's not the first time we've seen Liquid try and use a nade in terms of a post plant there. It's a common thing from a lot of teams that they'll try and do is plant in the doorway and then nade out, stop anybody from being able to get the fuse. So it'll be a little bit of an adaptation that FURIA want to bring to the mix. But time Palu finds the opener. He's able to take down Lender. Lender obviously had the really big round where he was able to get the triple nitro and the kill, getting him a quad, but apart from that, hasn't really been able to get himself fully involved here. Palu now going to make the drop into the bathroom and look to try and move on through. There isn't the extravagant hold that we saw in round number 1 from FURIA here, and they've kind of given up this top floor control in an attempt to make a little bit of a retake happen, and slowly but surely they're able to get a couple of those back. They are able to take down Nesk, who's been a big player already today. But still, Palu, this is so much free space that he has now to work with.
And, I mean, this is what Team Liquid didn't get access to back in round number 1 because FURIA specifically had their defense out to stop that. But they've changed things now, giving Team Liquid that space. But they have been chipping down on both sides. So there's the 3 versus 3. Palu does make the jump down, so they should be able to encroach onto the site now, even though Heise is back on the stairs, gets killed immediately, and suddenly it's just Rare on his own.
Well, Rare finds one from the courtyard, but he can't even finish the downed player of Sexy Cake. PSK with the turn. The Liquid boys there just going back to back and almost taking it SWAT style as they cleared through the building. Again, looking very dangerous, looking very scary, moving with that speed and aggression. Really not here to play any games today. They want this over and done as quick and as decisively as possible.
Not here to play any games. They're literally on Rainbow Six Siege, dude. Come on. Wake up.
You know the phrase.
Wake up. You don't know what your job is?
You know the phrase, Gio. They ain't playing around. It's serious.
Serious nook. I always love it when teams whip out a nook. Like, that's when you know they want to knuckle down. They want to knuckle down.
Knuckle down?
Get it? It's nook, but that's also how you just say it in your accent.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I honestly, I'm kind of just like, I'm almost sat here with like my arms crossed. I'm leaning back and I'm just like, you know what, Liquid? You just do your thing and I'm just going to watch. I mean, I guess that's the point. That's why we're here. But they're just bringing something new out every single time. And it's entertaining. I don't even care what the scores were yesterday. This is fun.
It really is. This is one of those games where you just kind of want to sit back and just react to it. Because it's all happening around you. There isn't a lot that we need to sort of paint over the top of this. Because it's very clear what's happening. And we're enjoying this spectacle, as I'm sure as much as you guys watching at home are, in that this is Liquid. I don't want to say at their best, but this is a very good Liquid that we're seeing today, and they're making very few mistakes.
I like it. It's cool. And it's not even that FURIA are playing badly either. You know, they've had some really cool strategies that they've brought out. And I feel like the scoreline doesn't fully show how toe-to-toe a number of these rounds have felt. It feels like a good level siege. It's certainly nice to see. Well, Team Liquid did get caught out rather brutally when they were last attacking onto Hookah. First kill, going straight into Nesk. Going straight to Nesk. Kill's not going into him, as he sneaks his way around through the master side. Now, I wonder if Team Liquid are going to just work a bit harder to ensure that there is no C4 down below them. They're not going to get blown up.
think that's probably a top priority at the moment. You don't see Lender's C4 in its kit, so I'm not sure if it's been pre-placed or not. Red does still have one in pocket and is going to be underneath inside of office. Hatch open as well, so potential for him to throw it up through the hatch. I'm just scanning the ceiling and I can't see the C4 pre-play, so maybe Lender's already used it and gone for a little bit of early aggression. Still, it's somebody in the hot seat to try and do the same job. This time it's going to be rare, and it kind of makes sense to play 2 people down there. It was such a big part of the previous round for FURIA. You've got to expect that Liquid are going to pay it a little bit of attention here. And having Lender in a position to back up Rare is going to be a good thing, especially with a push coming through Mud, which is immediately shut down. Moringa caught out in the reload as he's peeking and will pay for it. It levels things up in terms of man count. And this is probably the slowest we've seen Liquid look so far.
It really does feel that way, but I think they're just trying to be exceptionally diligent. Because they got caught out, they know that these players from FURIA will be present downstairs. They do want to play that vertical game. And they're going to have to be, you know, ping-ponging this communication with Nesk, who is out on the other side of the map. And he's providing what info he can to them. Alu getting ready with the nade to throw in, try and clear out from behind the bar, but it doesn't stop the Toxic Babe canister from being released.
Different approach here from Liquid as they try to make entrance in through Hookah balcony. Eyes with the Albert, able to shut at least one player down and potentially a second.
There
the
it
C4
is.
coming in from Rare. Still this vertical going ignored. PSK from the window. He's able to find one, but Rare, in fact, picks up the final 2 as he a little bit of a leg stretch outside. A triple kill on the round for Rare. FURIA, very successful again inside of Hookah Billiards, and this time under a different circumstance.
I think it just seems almost endemic now that Team Liquid are struggling with gaining the vertical control. And I don't mean struggling in the sense that they were trying really hard for it and they still failed. They just weren't trying. They didn't put a substantial pressure down into blue. They didn't have someone deliberately going through into clear. When I saw that Ness was coming on Nook, I actually wondered if that was the original intention, is you would be able to send someone down below without really being known or seen before it's too late. But instead, they utilized him over towards the other side of the map, over on the east side. Now, he got that opening kill, which, cool, that's great. You prevent the roam... you know, meaning much. They can't rotate back over towards the site. You have someone who can directly hold on white stairs, but we already had the track stingers there. So in theory, you didn't need Nesk sat at the top of the stairs. Otherwise, what's the point in investing your flank watch utility anyway? And Team Liquid did really lack anything downstairs. So, I mean, their whole pressuring onto the site itself was slow anyway. But I think part of it is because they were almost playing like the floor is lava. They knew that there was going to be something that could come out and bite them. Well, rather than being slow on pushing upstairs, just be fast and get rid of whoever's downstairs. She says as if it's really easy.
It's just that simple. Just clear downstairs for headlight. That's all. That's all it is. Like, not being held. There's no one there. You're not going to get shot on the way in. Simple as that.
Espers.
Well, sides have switched now, so it's FURIA that we can tell to go and clear downstairs, because it will be something that they have to do. Escape going to be playing inside of Sunrise. Very common point of entry. You know that somebody's going to be coming in through that mud room. The door to blue is going to be reinforced as well, so it's just going to stop a lot of those lines of sight being instantly available if you do lose a defender in either side. Still the drone work going ahead here for FURIA. Now they have picked up onto the Ying. That always gives you the indication that they're going to be going for some sort of aggression, but the aggression is going to be a little bit one-sided. Nesk, he lands his shots on the swing. Only barely. Pays for it with a lot of his life and will be easy to finish off for anybody else that gets the chance, but still, it is the Ying gone, and if you bring in a Ying, it's probably going to be quite a large part of the plan. We didn't get to see any of those Candelas in action.
Oh, just walking straight into the crosshair. Unfortunate for Palu. Nice easy kill to be collected by Fantasy. So far, looking alright. I mean, each side has lost a player. I think you could argue both sides have lost quite an important player as well.
Yeah, I think especially with how hyped up Rare was getting in the last little replay we got to see his camera. He was certainly quite hyped after picking up those 3 or 4 kills in the previous round. There's going to be a pre-play C4 from Sexy Cake. He just pings that out for his team so that they know to give him the heads up if and when it gets into a position where it could net a kill. And with 40 seconds left, it's likely going to get to that point. PSK is still going to be playing inside of drinks, cutting off the Toxic Babe canisters kind of strangely onto Vars. Initially, there's not really going to be anybody underneath there. Highs is below. He's going to try to be searching out for these players. I do hope he's removed that pre-play C4 as it really could come back and bite people. Miracle on the swing in, needs to deal with PSK and will do so. Wins the heads-up engagement. We could be seeing a plant coming down now. Fantasy. He also shuts down Moringa. Final couple of kills coming on in. Fantasy there. Down onto Moringa. Finishes off Sexy Cake. Nade does the rest onto an already downed player. FURIA, not out of this one just yet. Starting to claw him back.
There have been a couple of kills in that round where it felt less like FURIA took a really great swing or flick and more like someone from Team Liquid just stepped into the crosshair. Because I noted that about Palu, where Fantasy got that kill at first. But even at the end there, like on cool vibes, you know, whoever it was just like gets up and it's into a crosshair. And Miracle's kill as well was the same story. So some weird timing. And I think maybe Team Liquid underestimating the positioning of FURIA and how they were moving through the map. Because you could put that down to like, oh yeah, it's just unlucky, it's just bad timing, but decisions to move, decisions to rotate, decisions to change your position come from the information that you have about whether your surroundings are safe. So those players from Team Liquid, in all the different instances in which it happened, making those decisions came from the fact that they didn't think that FURIA were an immediate threat to them. But at a number of instances, they actually were, and Team Liquid didn't know that. So it's an interesting one, and one I hope, for Team Liquid's sake, doesn't continue.
I think there's something that stands out to me at the moment as we think back to the rounds where Liquid were successful, and it was a very well-rehearsed sort of set piece of play in there. Everybody knew exactly what they were going to be doing. There was a clear plan. There was maybe operators that were brought to assist that play in whatever it might be. And Team Liquid execute those exceptionally well. It's one of the things that they're really good at. But when they get caught in these just a straight up round where individuals are adapting on the fly and you're trying to build a plan, you're trying to, you know, combat an approach that's sort of ever changing, that's where FURIA have really started to hang quite well. And almost on the rounds where we've seen, you know, Liquid, for example, planting with the Blitz and the Glass inside a kitchen, FURIA have just sort of gone, what can we really do against this? Like, we didn't know it was coming. It's going to be very difficult to counter. We're just going to have to try our best. But when FURIA are given the chance to gain information, adapt, and then come up with a slightly different approach all within the course of a round, they do tend to do relatively well here. And they're going toe-to-toe with Liquid in that regard. All they need is a couple more rounds here, and they'll have, well, one more round, they'll have leveled themselves up. They really could start to cut down and shut down some of these players on the side of Liquid. They're going to be attacking into kitchen. Again, we're seeing this sort of typical slow approach, but a lot of fact-finding going on the drones.
You have this presence from Team Liquid upstairs too. Ooh, really nice angle. Fantasy brings down Palu and Sexy Cake basically for free from luggage, which I think is quite a sting on Team Liquid given the fact that they do have that aforementioned presence upstairs. You know, that's a very exposed place to be getting 2 kills from, unpunished.
It really is, especially with Fantasy inside of luggage now. He's able to hold off onto any other players that maybe look to try and rotate on up. At this point, I think it's probably quite unlikely that Liquid are going to choose to do that, although you never really do know. There is a lack of vertical pressure, which will start to happen now as Lender gets the sledgehammer into VIP and starts to open up a couple of those angles. Fancy still very conscious of this main stairs, and honestly, if that's all he does inside of this round, he will have done his job very nicely as his team is able to pinch and pressure remaining players on the site. Nesk now going to challenge onto this cool vibes, isn't initially going to land the shots and will instead be chunked down. Forced to retreat into Sunrise. PSK feeling the pressure. Toxic Babes going to deny a hop in through kitchen window. Smoke canister will cut off the line of sight, but he will respond with one of his own. Vertical now just going to cut him out of sitting in the optimal position. He has to retreat to the deployable shield, blindly firing through the smoke while still this vertical pressure comes in. Fantasy on for a quad kill inside of the round. All he's got to do is shut down Nesk and it will be his. He will do just exactly that. Turns around, has the heads up, gets the info, finishes off Nesk there. Again, another great round coming out of FURIA.
Yeah, I actually felt pretty bad for PSK because he was just constantly being forced backwards and forwards. Didn't want to relinquish the angle he was holding into bathroom, but he was also very aware that there was pressure coming in from above. And he had basically no support either, because if you remember, it was Palu and Sexy Cake who were downstairs with him from the start. But Fantasy got those 2 kills onto them really early on. So it meant that when it came to actually defending the site itself in those final 30 seconds, Team Liquid had a really tough job of it because it was all on PSK's shoulders. As you said, a really great round for Fantasy in particular, looking entirely unpunished. You know, no one from Team Liquid has really pushed back on him so far while he's been on the attack. Now, I'm intrigued to see how these changes from Team Liquid are going to go. Obviously, they're coming to a new site entirely, and so that invites the idea of a new operator lineup anyway. But Sexy Cake's going to be playing on the pulse, so that's going to give Team Liquid a lot more information than I think they've had available to work with so far on the last 2 rounds. You're also going to have a lot of the projectile denial because you've got both Jaeger and Wamai. And then Palu, once again, likely to be playing on the roam. Now, he's been shut down a couple of times too on this half so far. I'd like to see him getting a little bit more value.
Coastline can be a very tricky map to roam onto just because there's so many opportunities for attackers to gain that entry without really overly committing. So Palu may find himself struggling. Fancy already positioned very well indeed to take out Moringa, and he'll do just exactly that. Gets himself into office pretty much straight away. Curious to not see that wall reinforced. Fancy going to take the opportunity to open it here and now before it gets any pressure onto it. A huge opening win there, and with control of office, there's maybe even potential for an early plan there if the diffuser had been in the right location, but as it stands, FURIA are going to make rotations and try and get themselves into a bit of a better position. Fancy going to see a bit of damage there. The wall being open means an angle can now be held.
Running down to Vaz. Sexy Cake is holding on to this angle that was previously held by Fantasy. Interestingly, though, it basically means that he can't do his job as a pulse. He's upstairs in luggage, trying to hold a long angle across the courtyard. He's got a UMP in hand. He can't use the cardiac sensor as some kind of vertical intel, which is what you usually see. Kind of peculiar. The kill onto Nesk as well. They're just being caught out over and over.
FURIA doing such a good job here at pinching Liquid, and it's coming at a great cost. Look at Fantasy go. Picks himself up another 2. Sexy Cake from above. He may have a C4. He may have the heartbeat scanner. He could have all the information in the world right now, but all he's got is a minute to find 5. Tries to drop the hatch with the cover of the C4, but it really is only ever going to be just that. He will too get finished off. Fancy did fall there in the last engagement, but that isn't going to matter. FURIA, they are flying through this game since getting themselves onto the attack. They now sit 1 round away from a potential match point, 2 rounds away from dishing Liquid their 2nd loss here of the weekend.
And it's crazy because Liquid looked really good on their attack as well. So it feels like things have just completely changed. And for a lot of people, they would say that Coastline is an attacker-sided map. So we shouldn't act too surprised about it. I just think Liquid, especially on their defense, have just played kind of oddly. I mentioned before about some of their strange rotates that kept getting caught out, but even on that last round, you know, if you're gonna bring a pulse, why have Sexy Cake where he was? It's stuff like that. I understand maybe there's like the chance. Does the cardiac sensor like reach as far? Like if he was to point it at the pink wall, would it reach as far into billiards? Would he know that someone is opening up the floor in billiards? Because even then, you don't really need that extra information as to who's opening up a floor because the people down below will know. So I just feel like maybe he was misutilized, or maybe they decided to hold the defense differently to what they originally intended. Regardless of what it was, it just wasn't ideal.
It wasn't clear, was it? It didn't make a lot of sense. You usually pick a pulse if you're going to try and hold from downstairs to upstairs, not typically if you're going to try and hold from top down. So, yeah, I think there'll certainly be a reason for it, and you may be onto something there with maybe the parameters of the defense changed somewhat, and there was something that came in that meant that XK had to play in a different position to originally intended, but it wasn't ideal. Any number of people that you could have brought to try and get the job done a little bit differently there, but and again, with not reinforcing the wall into office, I think that was maybe one of the bigger questions of the whole thing. Like, why? Like, just reinforce the wall. It's very standard,
bro.
Yeah, it's just a very standard thing to do. So again, another bit of a question there, maybe to ask. And sometimes it really does come down to that sort of a knife edge. Like, it can be down to one unreinforced wall that real big problem starts to occur from. The problem for Liquid is that they're continuing to lose this opening pick. Guys, he's able to take down Sexy Cake, this time playing on the Vigil. The Logic Bomb call rings out and gives up the rest of the defenders for a brief time.
Ness trying to hold on to the Hookah door here from Cool Vibes. We saw him trying to challenge Cool Vibes earlier. It didn't really go very well. There's a lot of these holding the angles right now for Team Liquid at various different points of the map. I guess because there's just the chance that Furia could come in from anywhere, and they have been punishing Liquid in all sorts of different places. Moringa getting very close up here on the office door.
Ooh, what a nade there. It's a force Palu just out of position slightly, but doesn't cause too much concern. If it had been cooked for a little bit longer, it would have been a bit more of a problem. This could be Liquid trying to cement themselves here and not go down too far, as they do look to be playing this a little bit differently. And more importantly, they've been able to keep themselves alive for a lot longer. Sure, they lost the opening pick, but that's almost an advantage at this point, because Sexy Cake can now flick through the cameras, and we see him going from default to a drone that's been captured and really trying to give as much info for his team as possible. Not ideal from Sexy Cake, but not going to matter for now. He's still got time to pace out these Toxic Babe canisters. It's going to be quite difficult to push on through. We do hear smokes going off in the distance as well. It's going to be a Gemini that gathers a lot of that info. Plant still unable to go down here as another Toxic Babe comes through. Only now we're seeing vertical pressure. This is all a little bit too late here from Furia. Kills are going to start to trade, however. Nesk and Palu have to step up in a big way here. Still a 3 versus 2 as it gets very scrappy indeed. Nesk, the last player standing. The round going to be won out on time. The Plant having to be come off there. Very close round there. Liquid, they're going to level things up. 5 rounds apiece.
Are they going to be able to keep it up, though? Because the thing with that round is, sure, it went to Liquid, but it was on time. It wasn't necessarily off the back of Team Liquid having a really good round. So I don't even feel confident in being like, oh, maybe that will give Team Liquid the confidence they need to go into the next round. I mean, maybe it will. I don't know. But it wasn't one of those rounds where you get those vibes from, you know? It was almost an accidental win.
Yeah, not quite on purpose, not quite accidental. Obviously, it's the goal of the game is to win the round, but it felt like very much out of their hands that they won off. You know, they weren't in entire control of that, it seemed, especially when it comes down to such a fine margin at the end. But they're going to take it and run with it. We're going to go back upstairs now to Hookah and billiards to see if Furia are able to get that match point first. Still a very tight game, and a game that could very well end up in an overtime. And again, if Liquid suffer another, even if they, I'm going to use the phrase, even if they suffer another overtime win this weekend, that will be devastating for them inside of the standings, with the top 3 being so heavily contested. It really would start to open things up for the other teams up there, mainly NIP and FaZe. So all 3 points, while it's not required, it's certainly going to be nice to have here for Liquid, and they're running out of opportunities to get that.
It feels like there hasn't been a single week so far where all 3 of the top 3 teams have had a good week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Like, it's not that straightforward. It always changes as to which one is at the risk of dropping into the bottom of the top 3, which is, of all the problems to have, not a bad one. But it is still funny to me how we don't seem to see consistency or synchrony between all 3 of them in that situation. Regardless, Team Liquid are going to be defending on Hookah. This was the first site that they came to defend. And they didn't successfully do it.
A lot of information being gathered there by Lender. Sorry, not by Lender, by Highs on the Iana. Fantasy. Looking to see if he can find any advantage. Just holding a nice angle through into Hookah. With the removal of bullet holes, it's made that a much more heavily contested area, and you've actually got to have significant angles that you're able to challenge. Oh, that's going to be a bit devastating. Fantasy was rushing to Lender's aid, and he's going to be taken down on the vertical. Good communication there on the side of Liquid, and it's netted them a nice couple of kills. The Toxic Babe canister being used to finish off Lender, but it really isn't going to matter at this moment. 2 kills for 1 Toxic Babe. You'll take that every single day of the week. Ali now looking to just hold on for a little bit inside of Hookah. Nesk steps himself up to the plate as well. Liquid applying a lot of pressure here. And what is an opportunity to get themselves onto a match point first. It could be a flawless round here. Palu going to go for the swing, and he will find it. Perfect round, a flawless round for Liquid. They really put the pedal to the metal when it counts. Going to put them onto a match point.
Oh, how the turns table. I mean, Team Liquid did a great job of keeping Furia outside of their territory. One thing that Furia have done really well on their attack in the first 3 rounds was taking control of areas that were relatively uncontested by Team Liquid, and Team Liquid gave them a lot of space for free. But in those last 2 rounds, and notably round 11 that we just had, Team Liquid would not let up any of that space. That was not Furia's for the taking. And it has completely changed the way that their outcome is going in these rounds. And now they find themselves on match point. It could, of course, be evened out here and go into overtime. That's entirely possible. But Team Liquid do seem to have brought themselves back together. Now, this is the crucial thing. Sunrise and Blue, the kryptonite. Not only did Team Liquid really struggle to... No, this was where we had the issues with the vertical play, and Team Liquid went for the pulse, played it elsewhere. I'm really glad they haven't brought that back. Instead, they put Sexy Cake on Echo, which is an operator we see him on a bit more frequently. You also have Smoke, so you've got that extra anchor. If Furia make it into the site, you've got everything that you need to deny it. So you also have the extra information that you get from the Yukai drones as well. You're going to have a roam. The Palu, admittedly, has struggled with on a couple of rounds when he's been here on the Vigil. So hopefully they have the ingredients for improvement.
Well, this is really the time to shine for Liquid. They are a team that can turn it on when it really matters. But things obviously not all going the way that they would hope or the way that they intend. I think this weekend of games has really shown Liquid to be human and a team that is capable of making mistakes. But those mistakes have become a lot fewer in the last 2 rounds. Nesk, he does get away with his life. He didn't have a lot of health there and could quite easily have been finished off by that nade. Rare, he is going to fall. And Rare and how passionate he's been inside of the player cams, and you just know how much this one means to him. It's unfortunate for him that he's going to be sitting this round out. He's going to have to try and provide a lot of value in the comms. Fantasy on the Ash this time. Typically been playing the Zephyr, but a bit of a role change has commanded him to move over. There's going to be a player inside a jungle. He will be able to take them out. Nice little kill onto Moringa. Immediately gets himself out of the dangerous position. I was kind of hoping that that Zeb ping would be for the player and not for the default, and I think that that's
what?
the case. No. Miracle. He's taken down Fantasy. He will redeem himself, but still, it is a loss, and this could have been a 4 versus 3.
That is a big loss, given how much Fantasy has been doing for the team. He's also going to have to join Rare and hop on the drones to provide over the information. 3 versus 3, and you can feel the tension in the silence as we dip into the final minute of the round. These players from Team Liquid just surrounding the site, waiting for any glimpse of oncoming attackers. Looking like they want to go for some vertical pressure here. Nesk, though, gets the kill through the floor. He's got to keep eyes on Pool, though, as well as... Oh, okay, as well as the extra angles coming down, but it'll be Lender to win out there. 2 versus 2.
Still a Yokai drone available, so information here available for Liquid. Sexy Cake's just repositioned that, and he's probably going to try and deny a plant with it. Highs has the diffuser. There is going to be a ping coming in through for PSK as well, but he's not sure on the whereabouts of the second player. Now looking to make the push on through. Look at this vertical cover from Lender. Highs is going to be able to attempt to plant that diffuser once again and find the final kill. Comes off. A little bait and switch there. Furia. They do it. They take Liquid to an overtime. They deny the full 3 points. We really got a game on our hands now.
Liquid was so close. they were so close. And Furia, I have to say, nice that you could pull that off even with the handicap of not having Fantasy. But yeah, so we're going into overtime. Team Liquid are going to have some war flashbacks from yesterday where they lost in overtime to Santos. Team Liquid also starting on defense for their overtime, and that is the side that they've struggled on the most in this game.
I reckon Miracle has just breathed a huge sigh of... Because you wouldn't want to be responsible, not entirely, semi-indirectly responsible for losing the round by taking out Fantasy there. Stepped in a big way, been able to bring it all the way to OT. I'm glad that this is where it's ended, because with the way that this game started, I was a little bit worried that we'd see a bit of a stomp and Liquid would just come away and do what we know them to be capable of. But Furia have stood up to them today in a very impressive way, taking them all the way into overtime. Now, arguably, advantage Furia with the way that these rounds have been going, in that a lot of them have been won on the attack from both sides. So it's a good foreshadowing that they're going to get attacked first here. Let's see what they're able to do with it.
So Hookah is to be the site. First site the Team Liquid went to on their defense. And in round 11, they were able to successfully defend it. Playing a very, I want to say, aggressive defense. You know, the way that they just would not give any space to Furia, which is a problem that they had previously in the half. So, we'll see how this one goes. Furia, I mean, they've been doing pretty good with their droning so far today, so they're going to take the time to get a lot of that out. When we have a look with what's on the board, Team Liquid are really leaning into the idea of removing a lot of that utility anyway. But it'll be Nesk to get the opening kill. Straight on to Miracle. I don't think really the X-Kairos is something that Furia have been using too much, so it's not a huge... It's probably the only map where it's not a massive deal to have lost your Heart Breacher, but regardless, Furia don't want to be on the receiving end of the opening kill.
A little bit of a shame there for Miracle, as you say, whilst it's not required, it's sometimes quite a nice to have. We've seen it used on a couple of occasions. Particularly think it'd be valuable opening up that VIP. Ness can double down and take down Fantasy. Still inside of Theatre, finds himself another lender. Goes for the swing, goes for the challenge. Meets the same fate as most do, challenging Nesk when he's got a Pete Enroni in his hand. Still, he's been chunked down, but really is a consolation prize at this point. Furia heavily depleted here on this attack, and there's still quite a lot of time to try and work with. Going to deploy Capital's utility. Palu will burn for a time, but get himself to safety. Moringa as well, just hanging on the edge. Looking to open up a couple more lines of sight with the shotguns, as PSK is going to be playing sofas. Furia seemingly going for a bit of a switcheroo. We're now going to try and attempt to push in from the aquarium side. With two, it's always very difficult attacking in Hookah and billiards. You need pressure from multiple angles. You need a presence inside of aquarium. You also need a presence inside of Hookah. And you can't have both with only two. There are just too many lines of sight, too many angles to watch. The C4 from Nesk will be unsuccessful. From Textcake, actually. Will be found out there. Nesk is on for an ace. A very dangerous player on his day. He steps up when Liquid need him the most. Nesk with an ace. It's going to put Liquid on an overtime match point.
Well, I have my concerns about Liquid starting off on defense, but those have very swiftly washed away. And if we remember how well Team Liquid played on their attack, with a lot of creativity, might I add, wonder if maybe this is going to be an 8-6 for them. That said, Furia have been very tenacious in this game, and I think that they will be trying very freaking hard to pull this back. So I don't want to write it off just yet. It's also going to be Hookah as Furia's first sight. I say first sight, this is going to be their last chance to defend whatsoever. Team Liquid once again bringing back the same gridlock that they went for before. Moringa on the Thatcher. And then we're getting a bit of a roam again for Furia. Vigil, Mozzie, Aruni. Not overly dissimilar from what Team Liquid were doing on their defense. See how it goes.
I kind of like the Aruni in this lineup. I think it's going to give them a little bit of something to work with. We remember previously there was almost a decision between burning the laser gate and Aqua and just sledgehammering through the wall, and probably went for the sledgehammer and met his end. Liquid, a team that didn't pay a lot of attention to the vertical either. Cast our minds back to a brilliant triple C4 kill that Lender was able to get. A couple of rounds ago and Furia on the defense. So maybe, just maybe, we see Liquid with a slightly different approach here. I love this from Highs. Last thing they'd expect, overtime match point, a little bit of a spawn peek. Isn't going to find anyone. We can see in the outlines that no one's going to be there. The intent is there.
This hatch open, of course, you can hold on to the office door as well as having control of Aqua too. So if anyone from Team Liquid does encroach in through office, then Eyes will be able to pick that up immediately. However, Team Liquid, rather characteristically for them, they really like to push in through VIP and Hall of Fame when they're looking to attack onto Hookah. So unsurprising completely that they're coming in through this direction. Nesk just holding the angle down into Theatre. There is one defender over there. He's not going to push forward, which means he won't be punished by the C4. He still needs to try and get that shot. He's being droned, so he has the information. There's the ping coming out. He still has not cleared out this defender.
How are you going to be inside of Penthouse? Try and keep on through. Liquid really stacking up inside a Hall of Fame. We can see Furia making that rotation to move on out. All going to be fairly good for Furia in that Liquid is spending quite a lot of time on this side of the map and execute to start coming through soon.
Oh man, Sophia's cake, just too cakey. Can't get past. Alright. You got in. Still, you know what's really frustrating is everyone's still alive. Like, we have no real idea of who has an advantage right now, because you can say Team Liquid have taken certain space on the map and Furia are still holding certain areas to themselves, but no one's dead yet.
There's a bonus. I mean, there's 45 seconds and we've still got all 10 players alive, so you better believe that it's going to come down to a pretty intense firefight here. Still vertical angles being held on the roof all the way down. Liquid have quite a lot yet to go through. A lot of drones alive at this 25-second mark. There's a couple of players inside of them. The information will be valuable though. Nesk finds himself one. Fantasy with the swing onto PSK is going to be successful. The flank that he's able to pull off now could be very, very important. It's fourth Sexy Cake in deep and he's been cut down inside of the crossfire. The diffuser is going to be on the ground. Palu, he's caught on top of Blacktop. He's 3 versus 1 right now. Has to try and push through, but the diffuser being so deep finds himself an exit frag. Furia keeping themselves alive. They're going to take this all the way.
Of course it was going to go all the way to an 8-7. How could I be so naive to think anything else? I also just want to note, and I wish I'd been counting, although not that I would have known this prior to the match beginning, but I swear the answer to this game is whoever is playing on the Roni wins. Because there have been Nesk did his ace on the Roni. Fantasy has been playing Rooney a bunch, and when he's playing with the Roni, he also does fantastic. That just seems to be the MV weapon of this game. I wish I could have kept count of how many kills in this game have been done with the Roni.
I think it really is. I think we need to analyze the P10 Roni and see how similar it stacks up to the SMG11, because we know that LATAM players are fantastic with the SMG11. So it kind of stands to reason, because it feels very much the same. Like short mag, fast fire rate, very aggressive. Like you're going to land a headshot with it if you've got good aim. And that's usually what we see go down. And even if not, you a couple of body shots and you're golden. So really, it has been a big factor here. Nesk sitting on 17 kills. Like I mentioned earlier that he didn't have the best of days yesterday and he's really silenced all of his critics today, coming out with a ton of frags, double anybody else on his team more than. On the side of Furia, it's Fancy you're going to be looking toward. He had a great pop-off day yesterday and he's continued through, but this all comes down to one round, Gio. This is it, max OT.
Yeah, it's a 2.125 KD for Nesk. That is the only maths I will do in my head on broadcast. So there you go.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Welcome.
Well, we'll take that to the bank and cash it in.
All right. I'm nervous. I don't know who's going to take this. I really have no idea. Team Liquid back on defense. We said this was their weaker side, and they made round 13 look like a walk in the park. However, of course, they have to come to a different site this time. So that site is going to be Kitchen. Just having a look how they did. Round 8, they lost Kitchen. Round 10, they won Kitchen, but it was on time. So, let's see how this goes. Palu, don't get caught out too early. There's going to be this presence coming in to Master. Don't think the drone's seen him just yet. He didn't even catch it.
No, Paulu's had to dip himself out of there. He knows there's likely going to be a push coming through. Hatch has been opened for him below, so he's got a nice easy exit now to drop himself into main lobby. Liquid really not looking to contest too heavily on the roam, and that shows a bit of a sign of respect toward Furia and what they're actually capable of on that roam clear. It has been something they've seen a lot of success with. Still, hotspots being held here by Liquid, and Furia just left to take that map control that they desire and try and get a bit of vertical going.
These vertical angles have actually done really well to pressure Liquid in a number of occasions. I mean, we saw it happen with PSK. The way that he got really pressured. And a lot of that also came down to the position that Fantasy had in that round, which was luggage, which gave him a direct line of sight onto, who is it? It was Sexy Cake and Palu, I think, who were also with PSK in the site itself. Very early taken down. Nesk is actually in the site too. He's been playing off-site quite a bit lately, so this is an interesting one. Highs has decided to give up on the nade down through the floor. There's the first kill. Finally onto Sexy Cake. Sexy Cake has had a very unlucky time.
He really has. He's often found himself caught out there. Palu going to be full white flash inside a main lobby as well, but not immediately pushed. The push is just going to take a little bit longer to try and establish. Moringa going to be holding it as well with him, though. So still a lot of potential here. And as we approach the 15-second mark, FURIA have to do something. PSK still able to deny access with the Toxic Babe canisters. And it's going to take someone pushing on in through that smoke to really get anything done here. PSK will be taken out on the cross, though. That's being held by Fantasy. The plant was attempted very briefly. It's all going to come down to time. Highs. How has he recovered the diffuser? A C4 from Palu. The time was at 0-0-0. There was nothing left after that. Liquid, by the narrowest of margins, they are going to take the win here. The overtime win against FURIA.
I think either of these two teams could have deserved that win. So this was a very, very tight game. And, oh man. I mean, it was a fantastic one. And that's the sort of game that you could see on a max OT game going quite far.
Oh, like an infinite overtime sort of affair. That would.
Oh, that's what I meant. Infinite, not max overtime.
Yeah, that would have seriously dragged on a little bit, and it would have been a bit of a problem, I think, for both teams to get that one over the line. There wasn't a lot separating those two guys aside from site selection and attacker-defender split. That was really the only thing that was coming in between those two teams there. In terms of the playstyle, in terms of the strats and what they were willing to throw at things, there wasn't a great deal in it. Liquid had a lot of momentum in the early part of that game, but FURIA snatched that right back. They gave a very good account of themselves there. We really can't ask anything more out of a game, and what a way to round it out. Riley, get yourself back in here, and let's dissect that last game.
Yes, indeed. Wow, we really got a contest, didn't we? Team Liquid, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league at the moment, have not put on the performance that I think we expected of them this weekend. A very, very close game here that they managed to eke out. We saw them lose in overtime yesterday, Gio, but this time they did manage to get across the line. But as you say, if this one had been drawn out, I don't know, man. These teams are both playing some really, really hotly contested games.
Yeah, I mean, this really could have gone on for a very long time. Both of the teams, even on the rounds that they lost, I think both of the teams played really well in general. There were a couple of mistakes that we noticed here and there, but the general level of siege on both sides was always very high, which I think is why it made it so exciting on each of those rounds, because, you know, you find yourself rooting for both sides. And of course, as a non-biased caster, I'm not rooting for anyone, but you find yourself rooting for both sides.
Well, I mean, yeah, we know that a lot of people will be doing that, but I know obviously Ollie will be rooting for one side and one side only. Talk us through your feelings there, because FURIA really, I mean, we sort of said that Team Liquid were going to be the favourites heading into this. So you, as a fan of FURIA, you must be pleased with the contest that they put up, really, really testing these titans of the league here.
I think especially with the content piece that we showed before the game, and we saw that there was maybe a bit of a doubt in the minds of FURIA as to, you know, really what they were going to be going up against today, and they recognize and respect Liquid. You know, Liquid are essentially their elders inside of the league. You know, these are the guys that they've looked up to and they've watched for years, and they've got a young side in FURIA that kind of have got something to aspire to be. So when they're going up against a team that has that sort of credential against them, it's going to be very difficult mentally to sort of bring themselves into that. But FURIA did a really good job of standing and facing off against Liquid there. As we've said, a game that could have gone either way. It comes down to max OT, 0 seconds on the clock, 1 C4. It's a very narrow margin there, and I think that Liquid, while they're going to be pleased with the win, they've had certainly a turbulent weekend overall. Absolutely.
They've really been rattled. We have Sexy Cake joining us now from Team Liquid. We can get a little bit of an idea of what's going through the head of this team. He joins us now. Sexy Cake, thanks for your time, mate, and good to have you on the show. tell us, what's the mood like in the Team Liquid camp? You've had a weekend that I would guess didn't go to plan for you guys.
Yeah. This weekend was tough, but I think we're gonna get better in the next week. We tried to play Coastline for this week. Doesn't matter the team, so we can see that we have a little difficulties against some things that they can do, and we're just gonna fix this. We know what we had played wrong, and it is fine. It is fine. It's okay for us to lose 1 point because we got 1 point and now we got 2 points. It's fine for us, but I think it's just a thing that is good for us because we can see what we're losing against. How can I say? Not that strong teams. They are strong. They are more aggressive than the other teams, but it's good for us to play against them because we can see what we are doing wrong. So, it was a tough weekend, but it's just because we wanted to play Coastline for the 2 games.
So, okay, given that you say that, you wanted to come to Coastline and you kind of wanted it as this learning opportunity, is that part of the reason why you brought out a lot of quite creative strategies? I mean, especially on your attack today, we saw a lot of different types of strategy from your team. Some went well, some didn't work quite as well, but they were all seemed very well planned.
Yeah, we tried to play, we tried to make some different things like some rushes and things like that. It's good for us because we play like it's like a screen. We can test new things and things that we can improve, like rushing, entering alone in the map 1 by 1, and it's good for us to practice some of these things in the tournament because it's different than the scrims. As you know, people don't play like they play on screen, and that's why we came to the Coastline to play like that, and we can see a lot of things that we can do.
I think that sort of creative play style really started to show through today, Sexy Cake, and there was a round in particular where you guys brought the Glaz and the Blitz and went for the reverse sort of shield plant inside of Kitchen on round number 4. Those sort of set pieces, they seem to work really well for you, something that you've either come up with on the fly or decided before the game that you're going to run with. But you really did seem to struggle when it came to just straight up adapting against what FURIA were able to bring, particularly when they were on the attack. Is that somewhere that you think that you struggled tonight in the the roam game and really working that defense?
Yes, it was difficult to play against the Fury team because they play like Coastline have 6 entries that you can do, and we only have 5 players, so one is always open, and they could see this place where it was open and rush in and make the play start from that part. And we were trying to adjust to that, and it's really difficult because you don't have enough time to go to where they are entering because they have a lot of angles that they can mark from, and it's really difficult to go against them. So that's good for us. We know that it's difficult to play against a team like that, and that's what we're trying to improve. That's why we picked Coastline against Santos and FURIA, because they like pretty much the same play style.
Well, Sexy Cake, well, congratulations on the win, first of all. Well done once again, scrapping it out there right at the end. It did go down to the wire. Thanks for joining us, mate, and the best of luck to you in the coming rounds next weekend.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice stream. Oh, fine.
By the ace. He was going to say by the ace. I know he was going to say it.
We'll never know.